Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM22. It's Youth Factory. We're on episode 23. I'm not sure I'm going to get a terribly long episode in today. It's been a odd week. There's so much going on with COVID closures all over the place, and it's been chaotic, hectic, and I'm recording probably 20 minutes before I should be totally done with my work for the day. So I don't know how far I'm going to be able to get because if you haven't figured it out by now, this series takes longer than any others to produce an episode. There's a lot of playtime to get through. Also, there might be a little bit of background noise as I got to do what I got to do because I'm out of time. Anyway, it's intake day. We are ready for the new year. It's the 3rd of March. It's 2029 now. And we keep on climbing. I really could not believe that we made it up another tier. And we're looking at a lot of the same teams this year, but instead of the third team for a lot of these big clubs, now we're up against the second team for a lot of these big clubs. And we're definitely getting into the higher end of the ladder now. We're getting up there. But anyway, let's take a look at our intake. Of course, as always, it's another golden generation, but there's one interesting thing that I'm seeing here right off the bat, and I've wondered about this. In recent intakes, we found a lot of players with other nationalities, right? Second nationalities, but their primary nationality was something other than Norwegian. Now, of course, we have, these level 20 facilities, level 20 on the youth intake, so I understand that our reach is a lot further than most all, if not possibly, literally all of the Norway clubs. I mean, possibly. I don't know if it's literally. So possibly all of the Norwegian clubs. I don't know if anybody has a 20 intake. In fact, I don't know how many clubs in the world have that kind of level. Now, of course, it's all relative, right? It has to do with your talent pool, what's available in Norway. But there's other factors, right? That's not the only factor that we have a level 20. The division we play in, the club's reputation, our head of youth development are all factors that go into determining what sort of players we get within the intake. Now, of course, the head of youth development has a lot to do with the spread, the positions that the players end up playing. But in terms of, the quality and whatnot, in terms of the nationality, I want to say that I speculated on camera, and it made it into a video a couple seasons back, so a little while ago now, but I want to say that I speculated something along the lines of, because of our lower division, we were able to sweep up all of those. And this is something that the U.S. was totally famous for a while back. Not as much now. The U.S., especially when it was under Jurgen Klinsmann, really started to focus on developing internally and developing infrastructure within the U.S. so that we could develop players in-house and not just go get players that have one parent with U.S. ancestry who born and raised in the UK or in Germany or in Mexico, wherever, that have never stepped foot in the US in their life, but because they have ancestral heritage, they come and they get recruited to play for the United States. I feel like that's what we were doing with a lot of those intakes, and I feel like that's why I was getting so many foreign-born players that had, that secondary Norwegian ancestry. Well, anyway, with that being said, this is the first time, if we look down the list, they're all Norwegian, 100%. Again, we've been climbing the ladder and we've built up the reputation. Now, that does not mean that we are suddenly going to get all of the best youth players. And we'll never get all of the best, but if we get kind of the selection of the best youth in Norway, it's possible that could happen. But the reason why it's not happening yet is we're still only, I gotta double check where are we even at? 4th tier now? I think maybe 3rd. Gosh, I don't think we're that high. I think we're 4th tier this year. I need to double check that. It's been flying. And we don't have the names anymore that are convenient and obvious on where we're placed. But anyway, we still have ways to go. Our reputation is growing. It's not a half star anymore. It's finally, more than a star, but it's still far from what the best Norwegian clubs are. Now, there's no PSG, Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool's here, Juventus here. It's Norway. So we don't have as much of a ladder to climb in that sense to start overtaking those clubs. But we really do need to get to the top tier to then suddenly start stealing a lot of their players. Maybe 2nd tier we can steal 1 or 2 of the players that they would otherwise get, but I think we're still some ways away, right, from really properly doing that. But it does look like we're at least eclipsing so many of the small Norwegian clubs that don't compete in the top tier, that don't have 2, 3 feeder clubs within their organization. And I'm curious because I don't know. I've never played in a nation where that was allowable. I mean, I almost always play lower league in England, or I'll do national teams, or I'll do something in the U.S. on rare occasions. No, I've only done that once. But anyway, I haven't dealt with a nation where you have that 2nd, 3rd amateur team within the club. Will my team ever get that? Because I haven't seen an option where I can request that to the board. Request to have a 2nd team, a development team. That would be something. That would be pretty cool if I could actually start developing players, not sending them out on loan, but putting them on the Youth Factory too. That would be pretty cool if we could do that. Can the board make that happen? I think if we were professional, maybe that would be an option then. We're not professional yet. Kind of surprising that we're not professional, except that we have no money. When you think about that, I can see why we haven't just automatically gone professional. But anyway, let's take a look at our intake and see what we've got here. At least in terms of distribution of players, we're a little bit out of sorts, right? We've got a few center mids, a couple center backs, and that could be a good thing. But we've got a good goalkeeper, good center back, good center mid. Looks like one of our best players coming in, but certainly, we saw a 4-star guy a year ago compared to the rest of the team, right? I'm not seeing that here. There's another 2.5 stars. So it looks like we might not have the upfront instant quality, and that's been something that's really helped us along the way. Loving Knudsen's hair though. Love it. That's fantastic. Don't love your positions though. That's not so fantastic. One thing I'm noticing about our elite talents though is they're just about all showing, other than a couple guys, that 4 to 5 star range, meaning high potential in this group. A lot of really high potential. So there could at least be some money to be had selling some of these if they don't have the quality, if they don't take off on the development. Our 2nd tier guys, our top tier talents, that's more like what we're used to seeing. I mean, that's your 2.5 star, 3 star, maybe more cash in on, and only one player that's clearly not going to be good enough. Love that he's all over the back end of the pitch here, but no, that's not going to be good enough. And here's our first real look at this intake. Moen and above is the group that we've brought in. That's been signed, at least at this point. I think I still might have a few candidates down below that weren't signed. These are the ones that the staff recommended we sign. But anyway, we're looking at a 48-126. That's really solid. A 45-115 is okay. A 49-121 is pretty good. They're not great quality at the moment, but they're not far from first team level, and they certainly have quality. With development, you could really see them shining. A 55-113 looks like somebody who could be first team pretty soon, and he's center mid or striker. Okay, that's good. We have a 54, but capping out at 83. It is a defensive mid. 56, 57. So technically the best player is already as developed as they are going to be. That kind of hurts. 45, 115 though. So there are some options. Like I said, there didn't seem to be anybody who has great current ability, and that is the case. First time in the last 3 years that we haven't picked up somebody who already has really good current ability. But in terms of potential, did we have anybody over a 100 last season? Or maybe just one? There's quite a few here. There's quite a few. We have 5 guys with a high potential ability. Now, even a 126, that's not amazing. But in Norway, could be. It could be. It very well could be. So I can see why these guys would be sought after, from the big clubs. Those could be, maybe that is, if you're getting towards that potential, if you're getting a 110 or something, maybe that is top flight Norway. I don't know. I haven't seen that comparison on kind of where things lie. Only one player unsigned, really, just the lower guy, 3250. Yes, I agree with you. We don't need him. Let's go ahead and terminate that trial. With that though, I've got some work to do because we now have a massive bloated club, and we have no money. So we need to start thinning this out. We're gonna have to start picking and choosing. Now we do have a number of senior players, 60 plus, but that's not quite everybody. But you could already see getting into the 50 plus range. Yeah, 50 plus gets you well down beyond a first team and second team. Therefore, I think if there's anybody with lower potential that's, below about 47-ish as a cutoff, they need to be gone. Astensio with 122 caps, I probably won't send him on his way. He was the vice captain until 2 days ago. We just changed that maybe yesterday. It's just happened. So he's finally no longer captain, vice captain. It's Bergram now. So Bergram is stepping up Bergam to be the man in that department. Good leadership and great work rate. The days of sitting on terrible goalkeepers is finally going to be behind us. Stensby Jakobson, who was, I think, a 40 or a 41, he's still a 42 at 23 years of age. He's not developing even though he's got potential. He's one of the many who's kind of caught in that web of we have low facilities and it's just not enough for him. He's not got the right mentality to properly progress. Now, Sabani, well, he hasn't developed much either, but he's only 18, and he has developed at least a couple, 2 or 3 points. He was 45-ish, 44-ish. I mean, he was barely better than Stensby Jakobson, and I was like, well, we might as well give him a try because Stensby Jakobson was doing nothing, and that was obvious, so Sabani took over as starter. He's only slightly better. His potential is not great. He, at the moment, is not training well, but he's played well, and he's definitely better than Stensby Jakobson when you look at the distribution of stats. Our new man, almost identical in quality, slightly better than all, but with a 16, 18, 23-year-old who are all definitely better than this bottom group, I can finally part ways with a couple of them anyway. I think Sorensen and Lingbo, it's time for them to move on. So after an initial assessment of our needs and what we had in terms of personnel at positions, as in, so what do you need where it matters, I eliminated quite a few players off of our roster. I'd say 8 to 10 players have been removed from our roster. And our intake overall is now at 10. Quite a few of the ones I eliminated were from the intake itself. So I've taken on 10 new players. I'm also increasing. I keep pushing every season, especially as we climb, how much salary they're hanging on to. And a lot of the existing players in the senior squad. Quite a few players in the senior squad now have contracts that reflect their status in the team. You can see Berga making $8K, Calzi making $6K, Lavas with pay increases. Now, it's not massive, it's not full widespread. I mean, it's a half dozen guys at the moment that have requested new contracts, and I went ahead and agreed to what they want to help keep them happier, keep them satisfied being here. You can see I still have a number of talented players that just aren't making what they should be making, and these guys aren't making nothing. They're making that 100. But we're also coming up on that first round of expiring contracts. But looking at this group, a lot of these guys, Skovli, Vagel, Sjavold, are players with okay potential, 80, 90 potential, but they're down in the 30s in terms of current ability, and they're just not developing. So this is pretty much the last chance for a lot of those, and those contracts are going to ultimately just expire, and I'll let them go. In fact, I might at some point just kind of nudge them out the door myself and shorten things down, because the senior squad obviously is a little bloated, the U19's a little bloated, and if we're going to train, some of that's going to come down to our staff and can they handle. And one place where we could see it is starting to get a little hectic, it's average for the fitness and possession technical, which means it's lowering the effect, right? If everybody coach workload was light, then we'd be okay, but we're not. And that means I really should try to offload a few more. Now for the U19s, we're in the clear. We are definitely in the clear. We're okay. There are additional coaches at the U19 level that are assisting with the coaches that we already have on staff, and that's doing enough to keep it light across the board for the U19s. So I'm happy with where the U19s are at right now. It's okay that they are a little bloated. Again, I'm looking for players to have breakthroughs, players to develop. Another Ostby. Ostby is somebody who was nowhere near the quality he's at right now, but he is developing despite all the things stacked against us. The staff is slowly getting better. The coach rating is helping, but it's so minimal that the gains are so minimal right now. Now, of course, a full season ago, you gave me permission to push that training facility from a 1 to a 3. And we'll see how we're doing as the season begins. If we're really struggling at this division, then I'll go ahead and give it that little nudge, push it from a 1 to a 3, and see how much that little spark can start inching the team along to continue the climb, to continue the effort. And by giving it a little bit of time, you never know, something may happen with those finances internally. It is a supporter-owned club, and we do see small cash injections. We do see small cash injections through fundraising. Last season, the club brought in nearly $200,000 in fundraising money. So we actually get more money, I believe, and we actually collected money for the first time last season for our promotion. That was the first time we got into any sort of prize money. And we're already into a league that comes with a little bit of TV revenue, not just from the tournament, the Nations Cup, but that fundraising already off to a good start. I mean, we haven't even played our first match, and we've already brought in $34K this season. Gate receipts a year ago was $126,000. So we brought more money in people donating to the club than we brought in from people paying to see the club, because we only have 100 seats. Sponsorship has seen a good uptick. We went from $63K a year ago to $137. So we've right about doubled what we had in terms of income there. still not a lot. 136K is not even what we got in fundraising. It's barely what we got in gate receipts with 100-seat stadium. I know I'm beating a dead horse talking about that 100-seat stadium, but we just have limitations on the income, and so getting little boosts here and there, selling a player for 30K, that's not much. That's not much. It doesn't make much of a dent compared to what our expenses are. What I would like to see happen is clubs finally recognize the level that we're at being enough to start offering bigger sums of money for the players we have. Lovas might be gone this season, might be gone in this transfer window. We're already getting 30, 40,000 kind of offers. He's a player with potential that isn't really that great. Bergham's the better strike option on top, but Lovas is the one with much better potential. But when I'm not really getting that potential out of anybody other than about one player or a few guys slowly increasing, I'm more okay with losing Lovas and having somebody to replace him. But I'm not okay losing Lovas for a small amount of money. I definitely need a good payday, and hopefully as we're climbing, they ask for more and more. 100K, definitely minimum. 150K, 200K, I'd feel a little bit better if we sold him for 200,000 and not like 40,000 up front and 160,000 in 10 years when he's good enough to be a senior player, or 5 years or whatever. We need the funds now. It would be nice if it was just straight cash. 200K, 150K, 250K. Oh, that would be so nice if we got 250K. That would help with our spiraling debt situation for sure. It literally took less than one day until what I had just spoken about with Lovas just blew up to a whole new level. We had an offer of about 40K or something like that. We just had a fee of 120K overall transfer deal, possibly at 165,000, rejected by the board. So the 100K minimum that we were accepting in past seasons, it's definitely rising, and that's encouraging. That's really encouraging. I mean, that's a straight up 120K that would really help the club right now, and yet they said no. Let's hope that they come back with something even higher. Like I said, I don't want to lose Lovas, but I would love to see our debt significantly decreased. This season is shaping up to be something that's going to be a real handful. There's only 4 senior clubs out of 14. And then the 10 second or third clubs are now those second or third clubs of top tier sides for the most part. Or at least second tier sides pretty much throughout. Reputation, our league, now 59th. 2 stars. I mean, we're moving up. we're definitely starting to climb into a much more competitive level, and I think we're probably surrounded by professional clubs kind of through and through. Transfer activity is very deceiving at this level because it takes into account the senior club, the primary, and 10 of these clubs are not primaries. They're, like I said, the second or third clubs. Mold is here. Odd is here. Stebak. I mean, we're looking at the second clubs to a lot of senior clubs. Ranheim 2, right? We just encountered Ranheim 3, barely beat them towards the title. Ranheim 1 is the one who knocked us out of the cup. Ranheim 2 is here. Asen, who we just went up against their second tier club, and they were definitely one of the better ones in the last division we were in. They are the favored senior club at this level. We're 1 of 4, and we have 250 to 1 odds. Ouch. Okay, they're at least giving us some sort of shout, and I think the only reason why we're getting a shout at all is we have Ostby. Now, the interesting thing here is don't be fooled by Ostby being in the Dream 11. It's not our Ostby. I have no Dream 11 players. Last year, it was only Ostby. This year, he's made it to the key players list. Burgum just makes the right at the bottom of the list as well. So we do get 2. But my oh my, I think we're in for a bit of a challenge this season. I do think we're finally looking at mid-table being a good season, and that we have kind of reached where the credibility that we have is relative to those around us. Of course, last season it really was, but tactically we pushed and got a little further. I think tactically pushing is going to get us mid-table. Feels more likely, but you never know. I mean, last season we were picked to be near the bottom. I would say we were only 1 or 2 spots higher than where we are now, but it wasn't 250 to 1 odds. It was like 50 to 1 odds. Somebody could have made a lot of money betting on us a season ago. I don't think they're going to make money betting on us this season, especially going up against these guys at the top. We're talking about substantial quality, and we are just not there right now. We're going to have to develop just to get in. In fact, we are so far below everybody other than maybe Arendelle and these bottom 2 that I have a feeling we're going to be hard-pressed to be higher than about 9th or 10th this season. Now, of course, the focus has long since been on the team and how the team is developing and how the team is doing, how they progress, how we are progressing up the ranks. We have not checked in on our manager in quite some time. Reputation is now at 40%, 2 stars. I mean, that's really come a long ways. And here's how we look on the attribute side of things. So the determination is there. We can get our way with the board if there was any arguing over the finances, and there's not. That's the problem. The finances are so bad that no matter how determined we are, no matter how persuasive we are, there's no getting your way when the club is 800,000 in debt and spiraling further and further. I still find it super odd that an American in Norway, totally out of their element, has adapted and has the scouting knowledge fully of the region and yet still has an adaptability of 1. I don't understand why that doesn't develop naturally, especially when you are managing in a foreign land, a very foreign land. I mean, very different language, so on and so forth. If you're learning a language, that should improve your adaptability. Anyway. Player knowledge, youngster knowledge, still very low on those, but okay, whatever. Discipline, dang. I mean, we're at a 16, and a lot of that has to do with Jonas Snellingen, who I am desperate to get rid of. I'm so done with him. Total a-hole, and I've got players to replace him now, but he's influential, so I'm having to be careful, but I'm just like slapping him in the face now constantly. I've had enough. He has skipped sessions 13 times now. One of those was a game day. Ironically, he was going to be in that game day, but okay, fine. He missed out on his opportunity that day as he didn't show up. But yeah, 13 times, and I've been trying to get him sold for more than a year now. I'm down to, 11,000 on asking, and there's a handful of clubs that are really close to wanting to offer that. He does have potential just over 100, but he's not developing at all, and they see how he is, and a lot of the clubs are reluctant to pull the trigger and go for him, and but I think we're right on the verge, and I'll at least get a little bit of money for him, which I think is the least we should get. People management up to 14, motivating at 11. Those are good. The working with youngsters at 20 is definitely good. Defending, our first coaching attribute to get double digits. The tactical right behind it at 9. If we could get a badge, it would really help. But we can't do that. Obviously, we're determined, but the club has no money to send us. I haven't even bothered asking. As for the club, stadium, very poor condition. We're up to $13 ticket prices. here's that worrying part. Snelligen is an icon. He was our first consistent goal scorer before better options came along. And similar to the way my reputation has developed, the club's reputation has come up a long ways too, from a 1 out of 10,000 to now a little above 2,000 out of 10,000. That's a huge climb in terms of reputation. We're certainly known. That club attendance part, especially when you consider what the maximum could be, we would definitely be filling 600, 800, 1,000 seats pretty much every match, I would think. But the club attendance only goes so high because we have that 100, 100, 100. And so what is the average? It's not good. But they've never been below 100. Oh, dang. We are in the third tier now. It is the third tier. It's not the fourth tier. We are in the third tier. Now, for comparisons, in terms of how the tree works, we are still in a tier, the final tier though, that has more than one division. We have 2. So there are 2 divisions at this level. 14 teams here. We are in the second division. And then there are 14 teams here. Likewise, so there's 28 at this tier level. Above us, Obos, Ligen. Sorry, yeah, it is what it is. Ranheim, the current holders, going back up. So that was who knocked us out of the cup last year. They won that league. They are in the top division this season. And here we can see a few names that we know, right? Kongsvinger is there. Ralphus is somebody who's been targeting some of our players, going after them. There's Sondal, the senior league. There's the second Valerenga. I mean, there's only 5 teams that have their second tier team in the second level. Each of those top 2 divisions have 16 teams, and they kind of have their work cut out for them in avoiding relegation. I mean, that's hard with only 16 teams and having 3 teams going down, but it looks like you have a promotion playoff. Yes, you do. So 2 automatic promotions and then a promotion/relegation playoff, but not at our division. It's 3 down. Oh, okay. It's 3 down. It's 3 up. So each of our division's winners will have automatic promotion. Each of our division's second place finishers will have a playoff for who is the third team to go up. Okay, good to know. 3 down, that's obviously what we're going to try to avoid this season. I hope that we're not, suddenly finding ourselves in a relegation battle and that we are going to be around 12th. But, if we're 8th, 9th, 10th this season, that's fine. And if we get to mid-season and we are about 9th or even below, then yes, I'll take that training facility boost that has been authorized. We'll push it from a 1 to a 3, and that's not going to do much on its own, but it could see some development in players. Now, we're playing in the third tier of Norway. Is that going to be enough? Is that finally going to be enough to spark some of these players into development? Because Ostby started his development 3 seasons ago, something like that. And it's still continuing. I mean, he's up to an 82 now. I love that how now the league position media prediction is dead last, 14th. Will we really have our work that cut out for us? Are we going to see that big of a step from the last division to this division? Possibly. But maybe not. Remember, last season, they thought we were going to be really bad too. There's still plenty of interest in Lovas, but things have gone quiet in the last week and a half or so. No big offers to follow up what we previously had, pushing towards that 200K with over 100K right up front. It's a nice cash injection. But I don't want to get rid of Lovas for really anything less than what we can get for him. So, till the board is kind of forced. And it'd be nice to handle that debt a little bit, but it's only going to make a small dent if we end up getting rid of him for, what was being offered. And I feel like with plenty of time to go till the transfer window closes, there's still a chance. And if we don't lose him, great. Looks like we need him. Looks like we're going to have a handful of trouble this season. So we're going to have to work hard just to survive, not get relegated and go back down. With that, we're just about ready to get into the League Cup, which, of course, we participated in for the first time last season. Second year there, hoping to get maybe a little higher. But we had a good little run last season with that. We'll see what we do. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what your draw is. Now that we're in the third tier, we're getting up there. There's 32 teams ahead of us, and there's 28 at our level. I mean, we're into the top 60 now in all of Norway. That's a massive climb for where we were. Massive. But there's still work to do, especially just stabilizing our current position. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I know we didn't get into any actual matches, but we are set for the season to come. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.